one of the things that's been really eye-opening to me is just like how quickly a country can slip into fascism. Like, it happens pretty fucking fast. And all of a sudden, there are conversations that happen publicly where you're like, what? This is something that if somebody said it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody would have fucking cut you out of their lives and looked at you like you're a psychopath. Right? So I have a great example of it here. This is Fox News, and they are going mask off.
The leftist, the only leftist on the five
they have on the network.
On Fox.
A country can slip into fascism.
4 repubs,
like,
1 them.
Fast. And all of a sudden, there are conversations that happen publicly where you're like, what? This is something that if somebody said it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody would have fucking cut you out of their lives and looked at you like you're a psychopath. Right? So I have a great example of it here. This is Fox News, and they are going mask off fascist. Look, I feel for this liberal host they have on the network because she must feel like she's in the fucking Twilight Zone every day. This is like living in a nightmare on a daily basis. So listen to what she says, and the response should send a chill up your spine.
There's still a due process issue.
Yes, facts. We
there are
see
numerous cases confirmed of people in that mega prison who should not be. We talked earlier.
We're talking about the El Salvador slave labor camp.
The mega prison, the biggest prison in the Americas. 40,000 inmates.
So I have a great example of it here.
Known for violations of human rights.
Off fascist. Look, I feel for this liberal host that they have on the network because she must feel like she's in the fucking Twilight Zone every day. This is like living in a nightmare on a daily basis. So listen to what she says, and the response should send a chill up your spine.
There's still a due process issue.
Yes.
And there are now
Indubitably
confirmed of people in that mega prison who should not be. We talked earlier.
We're talking about the El Salvador slave labor camp and Trump illegally shipping people there, claiming they're Tren de Aragua.
TDA members.
That person's not Tren de Aragua.
The gay barber, he has no criminal history. Neither does the professional soccer player. They said he has a tattoo that resembles a gang tattoo, but the tattoo is really a crown with a crown on top of a soccer ball with a rosary. In what way did they get that wrong, bro? In what way did they get that wrong? Yeah. Nuts. Insane, bro. All the way insane, bro. Nuts. Crazy. Weak. Whack. Goofy. Trash. Yeah. Abuse. Certain people excuse this, bro, because they like Trump so much, but you have to put the bias to the side. You have to, bro. You have to maintain integrity. If you don't, you are unable to be taken seriously. Straight up. Real talk. If you are unable to put the bias to the side, you really are unable to be taken seriously, yo.
This is like living in a nightmare on a daily basis. So listen to what she says, and the response should send a chill up your spine.
There's still a due process issue here. And there are now numerous cases confirmed of people in that mega prison who should not be. We talked earlier.
We're talking about the El Salvador slave labor camp and Trump illegally shipping people there, claiming
illegally, the key words, illegally.
Comes out, that person's not Tren de Aragua. Slave labor camp and Trump illegally shipping people there, claiming they're Tren de Aragua, then information comes out, that person's not Tren de Aragua. They have a tattoo that's for their 15-year-old autistic brother, right? Another one was literally like a gay barber, and they sent him there. Like,
Crazy.
They're just no due process, no hearing,
No
habeas
proof
corpus,
of
no getting on court, no
wrongdoing.
having a lawyer, no talking to journalists. Just we're gonna kidnap you and we're gonna ship you to an El Salvador slave
Mega
labor
prison.
gulag.
Speak about the Venezuelan gay barber who is not in Nicaragua, who's in there. There's a Venezuelan married man with a political asylum claim. He has no tattoos. He was sent because of a paperwork error. And there's another man.
Yeah, they sent a professional soccer goalie from Venezuela who was allegedly tortured by the Maduro regime.
Yep.
He came here legally, and then they shipped him. Like, what do you even say at that point, right? What do you even say at that point? This is so far gone. This is straight up fascist shit.
He was sent because of a paperwork error. And there's another man, a 25-year-old, who works as a baker in.
What do you even say at that point? And then they shipped him. Like, soccer goalie from Venezuela who was allegedly tortured by the Maduro regime. He came here legally, and then they shipped him. Like, what do you even say at that point, right? What do you even say?
Unbelievable stuff,
This is
yo.
so far gone.
Unbelievable
This is straight up
stuff.
fascist shit.
Unbelievable
And there's
stuff.
another man, a 25-year-old, who works as a baker in Dallas, who had an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old brother. He got detained 2 times. The first time, he was able to speak to an agent and explain what it was, and he said, "No, you're clear." He was detained again in Dallas. They did not care, and they have sent him there.
So I need you to take note of something. Everything she's brought up so far is just factual.
Irrefutable.
Like, here's the information that we know of,
Unable
which has
to
been
be
widely reported
repudiated.
and is verified. That's all she's saying. Jessica Tarlov, I think her name is.
Yes.
Ready for the response? Buckle up.
So can we fix these mistakes?
No, but
and
that's
we can
not
keep
okay.
going forward
There
with
is a
the
way to
deportation?
do. You can. It is.
Oh, wait
Wait a minute.
You
You're
know it's
okay.
not good enough if you fix the mistake?
I don't think in the case of
Do
that,
you
the gay
think
barber
we
who
have
had
enough
his
judges to do a due process for every one of them?
Well, there aren't that many. We've only sent, what, 250?
Jessica, you're showing more sympathy to these illegal
No, I'm
gay
not.
bangers
You know
than you
what?
should to
I'll
American
tell you, that's
citizens
not
when you
true.
mistakenly let 10 million people
I
get
didn't.
sick.
So she explains in excruciating detail. They're not from Nicaragua.
Word.
They're not gang members. These are totally innocent people. And Jesse Water says, you're showing more concern and sympathy for these illegal gangbangers than you are for the American
He's
people who are the
dishonest.
victim of 10
Bad
million
faith,
undocumented
bro.
immigrants.
Bad faith.
She literally just explained to you, they are not undocumented immigrants. They're not criminals. They're not
Word.
gangbangers. She literally just explained that to you in no uncertain terms. And that's your reaction?
Crazy.
How do you deal with this? How
Stupid.
do you talk to that?
Fatuous.
How do you negotiate?
Harebrained. Yo, yeah.
Without good sleep, bad stuff happens. Only
It is
The
not
movement
showing
is the first
sympathy
very obvious
for illegal
post-modernist
aliens.
president.
It is not showing sympathy for true illegal aliens, bro. Nah. It is just she is just being logical, bro. And they don't want to accept the truth, bro. She is just being logical, and they don't want to accept the truth, yo. Goofy. Bird stuff, bro. Bird stuff. Truly bird stuff. Whack. Garbage. Hateable. Abhorrent. Indubitably abhorrent.
Explain that to you in no uncertain terms. And that's your reaction? How do you deal with this? How do you talk to that? How do you negotiate with it? Like, the MAGA movement is the first, very obvious, postmodernist presidency of my lifetime. In other words, what I mean by that is, they don't live in a world of objective reality and empirical truth.
Certain
They
MAGA
live in a
people,
world where
but
it's
not
my
all
truth.
of us. Sorry, not all of us. Not all of us. Certain MAGA people, yes. They are immovable, intransigent. They are immovable and intransigent. They don't care about the truth or facts. They just believe everything they are told. If they are, if proof is presented to them that contradicts what they believe, they will still believe the bunk, the rubbish, the garbage. Crazy-ish crazy, Uncle Murda. Crazy-ish crazy, Uncle Murda.
What I mean by that is, they don't live in a world of objective reality and empirical truth. They live in a world where it's my truth. And his
They
truth
always,
is...
certain MAGA people are hypocrites. They always say the leftists are unable to handle the truth or accept the reality, but the same people, they, when proof is presented to them, they go crazy. They get angry, bro. They get upset. They get furious, bro. They refuse to believe the truth, bro. Crazy.
The MAGA movement is the first very obvious postmodernist presidency in my lifetime. In other words, what I mean by that is, they don't live in a world of objective reality and empirical truth. They live in a world where it's my truth. And his truth is close enough. You rounded up some brown people, most of them have tattoos, guilty enough in my mind, get them the fuck out of here and I don't care what happens. You heard what Jeanine Pirro said. You want to give them all due process? We don't even have the number of judges that we need. Well, then get the fucking judges, you jackass. Instead of ripping up the Constitution, shitting on the Constitution, destroying it, lighting it on fire, throwing our civilized society in the garbage because you're a fucking bigot and you want to rush this shit. Holy shit, man. This is so dark. It's so dark. It actually kind of reminds me of the debate Crystal was having with Soccer, where Crystal was explaining the facts of the situation.
Crystal ball.
And Soccer
Breaking point.
be like, why are you showing more concern for them than you are for the victims of the illegal immigration in this country? And it's like, whether or not people get due process is not a debatable issue. Just like, hey, the First Amendment protects free speech. We're not debating that anymore. The whole point of a constitution is to have a right. A right is the opposite of a privilege. A privilege is something you're granted. A right is something that you just have by default.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is, let's wage a war on rights. Fuck the First Amendment. Send ship Mahmoud Khalil out of here.
To Louisiana.
Khalil,
Disappear
him to
Israel,
a
different
right?
state.
So no First Amendment. No due process,
Do
no
the
habeas
same
corpus.
to Ozturk, the Turkish Tufts graduate, who wrote an op-ed in which she bravely opposed the collective punishment that is happening in Gaza, bro. She wrote an op-ed in which she bravely opposed the collective punishment in Gaza, bro. They said, detain her, disappear her to a different state. No proof of Hamas support or wrongdoing, bro. They just, these masked agents just grabbed her and took her somewhere, bro. We don't know where she was taken to, but they did take her to a certain place, bro. Nuts.
Then ship Mahmoud Khalil out of here. Detain Mahmoud Khalil.
Syrian-born Columbia
right?
graduate.
So no First Amendment. No due process,
Syrian-born
no
Columbia
Are you
graduate.
a gay barber? Well, I guess we'll just say you're Tren de Aragua and lock you up in a slave labor camp with no recourse. How are we fucking debating this? How are we everybody who's taking the other side of this should be fucking ashamed of themselves. ashamed of themselves.
You're showing more sympathy to these illegal
Concur.
immigrants. Then you should
Agree.
do American citizens who
Agreed.
mistakenly let 10 million people
I
in.
just should have
We
the pictures of the
concur,
victims of these people.
Kalinsky.
It's real determined.
You're showing more sympathy to these illegal
No, I'm not.
immigrants.
Of course, how are we fucking debating this? How are we? Everybody who's taking the other side of this should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves.
You're showing more sympathy to these illegal
No, I'm not.
immigrants.
You know
Then you
what?
should do
I'll
American
tell you what,
citizens
I'm
where you
not.
mistakenly let 10 million people
I
in.
just should have the pictures of the victims of these people. It's real deterrent.
There's
So
no
you know,
victims
you can see
because
that.
they
If you are
they
in the
did
process-
not
The victims
do
of these people,
anything.
the victims of the 15-year-old who works at a bakery who had an autism awareness tattoo for his 15-year-old brother, who volunteered to help other special needs kids. The victim, there are no victims of that.
Facts.
There are no victims of that person. Oh my God, I'm gonna fucking lose it. I'm gonna lose it.
And you mistakenly let 10 million people
I
in.
just should have the pictures of the victims of these people. It's real deterrent. So the
Do you
American
know-
people.
She literally thinks the people Trump is kidnapping, by definition, cannot be victims. That's how she thinks. That's how she thinks. So she's thinking like, oh, Lincoln Riley or somebody else who was the victim of a crime done by an undocumented immigrant. The logic there is all undocumented immigrants, and maybe even all immigrants broadly, even legal immigrants, are guilty for the crimes of individuals.
Crazy.
So this is dehumanization and generalization
Yep.
about this group of people, which she doesn't like. It is sloppy thinking. It is fucking gross
Lazy,
thinking. It's
unfair,
fucking shit, primitive-ass
stupid,
thinking,
ignorant,
and she's spewing it on TV to millions of
ignorant,
people casually.
and
You can see it.
That is
bigoted.
not, if you are in the process, if you're in the asylum process, you are given certain due process rights.
Oh,
Yes, you went through a legal port of entry, you were supposed to see a judge, and then you get picked up and sent for an autism awareness.
Legal or illegal port of entry?
Legal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Those people, Jesse Waters and fucking Janine Pirro, the drunk, they're irredeemable.
During the asylum process, you are given certain due process rights.
Oh,
Yes, you went through a legal port of entry, you were supposed to see a judge, and then you get picked up and sent for an autism awareness.
Legal or illegal port of entry?
Legal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Those people, Jesse Waters and fucking Janine Pirro, the drunk, they're irredeemable. They're irredeemable. The fact that they're willing to defend this means there's literally
They make
nothing
MAGA
they
look
won't
bad
If
with
Trump
this, bro. They
decides-
really do. With this fatuousness, this
Legal or
ignorance,
illegal port of
this
entry?
Legal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
lack of
Those
empathy,
people,
lack
Jesse Waters
of
and
care,
fucking,
the lack of empathy. It is craziness, yo. What is this, bro? This is craziness. This, yo. Yeah. Sad. They really think these people are. They really refuse to accept. They really refuse to accept the truth that these people are not gang members, bro. Yeah, what he said, irredeemable, bro. They are irredeemable. There's no way to reason with these people, bro. Certain people, certain MAGA people, there's no way to reason with there's no way to reason with certain MAGA people because they, no matter what you say, they won't accept. So it is what it is, yo. Terrible, bro. All the way.
During the asylum process, you are picked up and sent for an autism awareness.
Legal or illegal port of entry?
Legal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Those people, Jesse Waters and fucking Janine Pirro, the drunk, they're irredeemable. They're irredeemable. The fact that they're willing to defend this means there's literally nothing they won't defend. If Trump decides, hey, Greenland pissed me off, they're not submitting to me trying to illegally steal them, and Trump decides, I'm gonna drop a nuke on Greenland, they would be on TV defending it. They would be on TV defending it. They know their marching orders. They know their job. And ladies and gentlemen,
Puppets.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is
Fawner,
what a fascist
fawners,
cult looks like.
toadies.
There is no more. They know their marching orders. They know their job. And ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is what a fascist cult looks like. There is no more independent thought. There is no more disagreement. You're either with them or you're against them. And clearly what they're saying is, I don't give a fuck about the specific examples of abuses and lack of due process where innocent people are being shipped to a slave labor camp. Who cares? I like Trump. I like what he's doing. We can fix the mistakes again. The whole point of due process is to not have mistakes. It's up front making sure there are no mistakes because we don't want to lock anybody innocent up. Because they say, oh no, it's fine, we like the way he's doing it. They can fix the mistakes and get back to doing what they're doing. What they're doing is all a mistake. Because it's not about getting fucking Trende Aragua. It's not about, they're trying to create an environment of fear. They're trying to do a minimum of 1,200 deportations per day, which means what? Guys, there's not that many undocumented immigrant violent criminals. They've already been deported. Every administration deports them, right? So then if you're saying 1,200 deportations a day, but we're out of undocumented immigrant violent criminals, who's left? Undocumented immigrants who are not at all violent criminals.
All illegals should get deported to their homelands, but they should not be sent to a country from which they did not come and put in a mega prison in a country from which they did not come. But all illegals, people who did not go through the legal process, they all those people, they should go. Every person with no papers, no documentation should be deported to their homelands. Facts. But don't send these people to countries from which they did not come and put them in a mega prison in countries from which they did not come. Be logical, please.
They're trying to do a minimum of 1,200 deportations per day, which means what? Guys, there's not that many undocumented immigrant violent criminals. They've already been deported. Every administration deports them, right? So then if you're saying 1,200 deportations a day, but we're out of undocumented immigrant violent criminals, who's left? Undocumented immigrants who are not at all violent criminals, right? You're going to have legal immigrants, green card holders, etc. They're going after anybody. They detained a U.S. veteran. We just covered a story the other day. They detained a mother who was here as a child, so she's a dreamer, and her 1-year-old kid and her 5-year-old kid. They're hundreds of students whose crime is protesting Israel or writing an op-ed that Trump doesn't like. Your ass has got to go.
Crazy.
They're
crappy,
just fascists. They
evil,
are just fascists.
fecal.
There was a time when there was a debate and zero justice, zero consequences for sure.
Yeah. There's another video in which he's discussing the dude who's a father of a kid with hearing difficulties. He got sent to a mega prison too. Crazy. No proof of wrong, or they stopped. They did. The ICE stopped this dude. ICE stopped this dude in front of a Home Depot where he was looking for work. They stopped this dude. They said he is in a gang, in the MS-13 gang. They thought he was because he had on a Bulls hoodie and a Bulls hat, bro. Crazy. They thought this dude was MS-13 because of a Bulls hoodie and a Bulls hat, bro. a Bulls hoodie and a Bulls hat. They thought he was MS-13 because of a Bulls hoodie and a Bulls hat. Nuts. They arrested this dude. They detained him. They did detain this dude. They did detain him. Yeah, this dude did not do anything wrong. Bro. This dude, his name is Abrego Garcia. They detained this dude. This wasn't the first time they detained this dude. This dude was detained twice. Crazy. The second time he got arrested was when he was driving his car. He was driving his he has one real son and two stepsons. One real son and two stepsons. He was going to pick up his stepson, if my memory is correct. He got stopped. This dude got stopped. This dude got stopped again, bro. They said your status has changed. They said your immigration status has changed. They told the dude your immigration status has changed and detained Abrego. This dude worked 5 days a week as a sheet metal apprentice. Sheet metal apprentices, they learn to create, assemble, install, and repair. These people, they learn to create, assemble, install, and repair sheet metal products. That is the duty, or that is what these things are the things sheet metal apprentices do. These are the things that sheet metal apprentices do. They learn to create, assemble, install, and repair sheet metal products. He did that while taking college courses, bro. They thought they said this dude is a gang member, a MS-13 gang member, bro. They thought this dude, this hombre, was a MS-13 gang member. Stupid. Dumb. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy-ish crazy. Uncle Murda again. Yeah. Bruh. This is crazy. This is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I cannot find I don't remember the title of the video in which he discussed it, but let's go to Majority Report. They did a video too. Sam Cedar, Emma Vickland, they discussed this too. They opposed this BS too. So, salute to the people on the left who oppose this. Salute to everybody who opposes this. The people on the left and on the right who oppose this. Salute to everybody who opposes this. Everybody should oppose this, but sadly everybody doesn't, because a lot of people are puppets. It is what it is. It is the truth.
Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, this is at the White House press briefing, is asked by a reporter about the case of the Salvadoran man, Garcia. Garcia was the individual who was basically taken from Maryland. I think that's where he was.
Yeah.
He came to the United States when he was 16 years old. He was fleeing gang violence in El Salvador.
His
To
homeland.
send him back there is especially cruel. The administration claimed that he was a leader of MS-13.
Lies,
This is not
bunk,
what
rubbish,
any of the records
cod
of this man
swallow,
say
pig
is true.
swallow,
They basically made it up.
humbug,
J.D. Vance,
garbage, trash.
the records of this man say is true. They basically made it up. The records of this man say is true. They basically made it up. J.D. Vance tweeted it out and then had to fact check himself as he thought he was. The administration claimed that he was a leader of MS-13. This is not what any of the records of this man say is true. They basically made it up. J.D. Vance tweeted it out and then had to fact check himself as he thought he was dunking on a reporter, just to show the seriousness.
This is crazy, odious, terrible. JD, he was bugging.
But here she is being asked.
This is coming from
this
a
case.
MAGA person, bro. He was bugging. Levitt was bugging too, bro. She was tripping, bro, all the way.
Just to show the level of seriousness
All the way.
with which this administration is engaging,
She
just destroying people's lives here. But here she is being asked about
unapologetically
this
said
Right.
rubbish
A few questions about this.
to the press,
First, I wanted to
to
clarify
these
something.
journalists.
Just a few minutes ago, you said you'd seen evidence that this man was
Evidence.
a convicted
Evidence.
gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what? This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual
Cap.
was also engaged in human trafficking.
Nope.
And I'm glad you brought up this point again.
There's no
because
proof.
I would
Where's
like
the
to point
proof?
out that if you just saw
To
the headline
substantiate
from the
this
insane failing Atlantic
claim.
magazine this morning,
This is
you would think
baseless. This is
individual was
groundless.
father of-
Human
Just saw the
trafficking.
headline
What?
From the insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this.
The deflection, diversion.
You just saw
Hold
the
on.
headline from the
insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning? You just saw the headline from the insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning. You would think this individual this individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm
What
glad
proof?
you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane failing Atlantic magazine this morning,
Trash.
you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth.
What?
They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is
So
involved
no
in
due process just because he's in illegal.
in the first paragraph that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain.
All offenders get due process. All people who get accused of offenses get due process. All people who get accused of doing offenses get due process regardless.
In this country, so are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's rule? Judge ordered that he should remain in this country, so are you saying that it is okay?
Nation is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge
Administration is going to continue to deport. MS-13 is a designated
You
foreign
have to
terrorist
deport
organization. Foreign
true.
terrorists have no legal protections
You
in
have
the United
to-
States of America. And
You
this
cannot
administration is going
punish
to
the
continue
wrong
to deport
people.
foreign
You have to be logical.
MS-13
You
is
have
a
to
designated
be
foreign terrorist
to
organization.
make sure
Foreign
the people
terrorists have no-
are really transgressing and doing wrong. You can't just do stuff to people with no proof or evidence. It's crazy.
MS-13 gang.
Harebrained,
Involved in human
rash,
trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign
imprudent,
terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America.
unsagacious.
MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
But a judge ordered that he should remain in this country, so are you saying that it is okay to ignore a judge's ruling if you don't like it?
Who does that judge work for?
He's an immigrant.
It was an immigration judge who works for the Department of Justice at the direction of the Attorney General of the United States, whose name is Pam Bondi, who has committed to eradicating MS-13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They
That's
hacked
sad.
4 people to
It's
death
evil,
with machetes in a
depraved,
park on Long Island.
scummy.
They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a
Immoral.
teenage girl in Texas.
The people who
after
did
she was assaulted.
these
Okay, got it.
acts.
Every immigrant is implicated
But-
in the death of Lake and Riley, apparently. Okay, got it. Every immigrant.
MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old
You have
autistic
to
woman to death in
arrest
Maryland. They hacked
people
4
who
people to death with machetes in a park on
are
Long Island.
true
They have
lawbreakers.
kidnapped, sexually tortured, and
You
shot
have to
a teenage
arrest
girl in Texas.
people. You must arrest people who are true lawbreakers.
13 from our nation's interior. And let me tell you why we've made this commitment. MS-13, may I remind each and every one of you, is a brutal and vicious gang. They raped and strangled a 20-year-old autistic woman to death in Maryland. They hacked 4 people to death with machetes in a park on Long Island. They have kidnapped, sexually tortured, and shot a teenage girl in Texas after
None
she
of this is
assaulted
relevant.
them.
Okay, got it. Every immigrant is implicated in the death of Lake and
Everybody
Riley,
is evil.
apparently, according
Every
to Stephen Miller,
illegal
this
alien
administration.
is.
Got it. Every immigrant is implicated in the death of Lake and Riley, apparently, according to Stephen Miller in this administration. This man, because he is from El Salvador and was literally fleeing the gang that they're claiming he was a part of, is implicated in their crimes apparently
Crazy.
as well, and that he's not this father of the year. Where is she getting this from? And by the way, check in with the rest of the administration before you go out there on a limb, because they have already
You
admitted
will look
that this was an error.
foolish.
But they're
You
just
will look stupid if you say the wrong thing, yo.
They're on a limb, because they have already admitted that this was
If
an
there's
error.
proof to
But
debunk, to invalidate the rubbish you say, or the claim you say, you will look foolish. Word.
they're just like
You will
winking
look
and
foolish.
saying, ah, too bad we
You
can't get him
will
back.
look foolish.
We defied a court order. Where's she getting this from? And by the way, check in with the rest of the administration before you go out there on a limb, because they have already admitted that this was an error, but they're just like winking and they're on a limb, because they have already admitted that this was an error, but they're just like winking and saying, ah, too bad we can't get him back.
Crazy.
We defied a court
No
order
care.
and said we couldn't turn the plane around. The court was saying, hey, these folks need due process. We need to determine whether they are who you say they are,
Yep.
which includes
Before you
violent criminals
convict,
and gang
before you
members. They turned
sentence
this plane
people.
around and they said, the plane's already in the air. We've got like maritime law, sky law. Just a middle finger to the courts.
Yep.
Everyone
Facts.
knows when she says that he is a
Yeah.
criminal.
She made
illegal.
sense.
What she,
What? No, she is correct. F making sense. She is correct. Emma is. We don't agree politically. That is irrelevant. We don't agree on much, but she is correct with this.
Determine whether or not
A
whether
spade
they
is
are who
a
you say they
spade,
are, which includes
regardless.
violent criminals and gang members. Hey, turn this plane around, and they said, the plane's already in the air. We've got like maritime law, sky law. Just a middle finger to the courts.
then Levitt knows when she says that he is a criminal illegal.
Maritime law, sky
I don't agree with Kalinsky politically, but it is irrelevant because much of what he said in the video we checked in this commentary video of mine was on point, yo. He cooked in a lot of his statements, but we don't agree politically. It is irrelevant that we disagree politically because he made sense in a lot of his commentary regarding this issue, this deportation of people who have no criminal histories, bro. Wrongful deportations. He is on point for the most part, bro. It is what it is.
Whether they are who you say they are, which includes violent criminals and gang members. Hey, turn this plane around, and they said, the plane's already in the air. We've got like maritime law, sky law. Just a middle finger to the courts.
Then Levitt knows when she says that he is a criminal illegal. What she means is to make the civil infraction of saying,
This is Matt
or whatever,
who, from
undocumented
DMR.
as a crime.
He
It's not.
is. He does commentary too. He's in the back.
As a crime. It's not.
His face shows up. They show his face. He's in the back. He's in the background. He's in the back.
With a unionized sheet metal worker,
Emma is in the front. Emma is always in the front, and Cedar too. Cedar and Emma are always in the front. Cedar and Vickland.
Or whatever, come into this country, undocumented as a crime. It's not.
Alberto Garcia.
saying overstayed a visa or whatever, coming in. So he is a criminal illegal. What she means is to make the civil infraction of saying overstaying a visa or whatever, coming into this country undocumented as a crime. It's not.
Abrego Garcia, the Baltimore Banner writes, was a unionized sheet metal worker trying to advance his career by enrolling in a college course to obtain a professional license, according to CASA's statement issued Tuesday. The family was also seeking specialized care for their autistic nonverbal son, who was on a waiting list at the Children's Hospital. Here is a report from CBS this morning interviewing his wife. Yeah, sure, go ahead, Russ.
Also, she also says in that clip that the immigration judge who issued the ruling that he should not be deported works for the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, which
Right.
basic civics would tell you that that's not the case.
That they are attempting to beat the entire judicial system into submission. They're doing this by going after private, well-connected law firms, and also by targeting judges politically. Thankfully, when it comes to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, we had a great result last night. But like on this issue, they are exploiting the destruction of our fundamental civil rights that really began in this iteration in the post 9/11 world during the war on terror, including the classifications of people broadly as terrorists, to give them no due process, to rip them away from their families. And they're pairing that with our purposefully burdensome immigration system that doesn't give folks like Kilmar and his family the ability to get permanent citizenship status because the Republicans are so nativist, and because, frankly, there's a whole class of our economy that benefits from a lot of folks not being under, in secret, living their lives here so they can steal their wages. Wage theft is one of the biggest forms of theft in this country. They can pay them sub-minimum wage. They can use deportation as a threat if they speak up again about workplace abuse. That's part of this whole here. But here is his wife talking about who this man actually is.
Waited and waited. He never made that call.
Jennifer says when her husband, Garcia, was detained and
Esposo.
mistakenly deported by immigration authorities in March, he told her he could be sent to Secot, the notorious Salvadorian
The
prison.
terrorist
I was scared.
confinement
I
center.
was very scared
Why?
because I've seen news of that prison. And I know they
Everybody's
take
heads
criminals there.
gets
And he's not a
shaved.
criminal.
It is crazy.
Because I've seen news of that prison, and I know they take criminals there, and my husband's not a criminal.
Abrego Garcia was granted legal status protecting him from deportation back to El Salvador in 2019 because of safety concerns in his home country. Jennifer says he continued to check in with immigration officials until he was stopped by ICE on March 12th in Maryland.
Yeah.
Just days later, Jennifer saw this photo of Abrego Garcia inside Secot.
When I saw it, I immediately broke down. Because I
They
knew
took this dude to different immigration detention centers, such as the ones in Tejas and Louisiana, bro. They took Abrego to different immigration detention centers, such as the ones in Tejas and in Louisiana, bro. They took this dude to different immigration detention centers, such as the ones in Tejas or Texas and in Louisiana, bro. Nuts.
when I saw it, I immediately broke down.
Just days later, Jennifer
Don't
saw
blame
the
you.
photo of Abrego Garcia inside Secot.
When I saw it,
It is sad, sorrowful,
Because I knew it was him.
What was your
detestable,
biggest fear when you identified
odious.
Thank you very much. The crown molding is perfect. Of course, it was my pleasure.
I was scared for his life.
In court documents filed Monday, the government said although ICE was aware of his protection from removal, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error. Now that he's out of the country, officials say they have no jurisdiction to bring him back.
The error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error.
The Trump administration acknowledged the mistake, but defended
Not
Abrego
enough, though.
Garcia's deportation.
He is a leader in the brutal MS-13
Cap.
gang, and he is involved in human
Bunk,
trafficking.
rubbish,
The White House did not detail any evidence that proves those allegations.
it's trash.
Jennifer says her husband is not a gang member, but instead just a proud father of their 5-year-old son with disabilities.
Big ups,
He's
yo.
not a criminal. My husband is an amazing person, an amazing father.
Seems like it.
There you
He
go.
seems like
Um,
it to me.
So, all of this stuff really does tie in with our police state. And during the pandemic, giving people no due process just because you classify them as terrorists. Also, the unitary executive theory being tested under Bush that Donald Trump is now pushing to the limit. Or pushing
Abusive,
past our institutions' limits,
radical
almost. The
stuff.
nearly decade of Republican politics changed when, based on what politicians say, what they do. Yeah, these are really some bad hombres that we need to criminalize. If you do a violent act or you steal something, the right wing would say, "Oh, still claims to be the victim," over and over, whining about how horrible everybody has been to him.
I think I remember the title now of the Kalinsky video. Hold up. Won't play the whole thing, just a certain part of it. This.
Get hooked up on everyday spending.
It came back to me, yo. Sorry.
All right, y'all, let's talk about how J.D. Vance has effectively sold his soul to the devil. So as you all know, there was a time when he called Donald Trump America's Hitler. Oh, you see yourself historically, and well, your legacy, oh, you were president. Oh. I don't give a fuck about that. He's now just openly serving everybody deeply fascist, brazen lies. And we're going to talk about it here in just a second. So before we get into that, let's start with this. Just 15% of Americans think all the Venezuelans the Trump administration deported are actually gang members, as the administration says they are. It includes just 32% of Republicans. A majority of Americans think the administration has likely made at least some mistakes with the deportations. Now, let me be clear about this. They are not making mistakes.
Facts.
They're not
It is
making
beyond
mistakes. They simply don't care
words.
who they round up and who they kick out. How do I know
Trash.
that? ICE has
Trash.
a quota now from Trump, 1,200 deportations a day. Well, guess what? We've already blown through all of the people. I don't care. So in other words, right, when you look at his support for his immigration policy, it's sky high. So some of them are like, yeah, I know he's not getting the right people. I don't care. Needs was here legally under protected. Abrego Garcia, a Maryland father of 2, including a 5-year-old with special needs, was here legally under protected status. No criminal record, no charges. Then ICE swarmed his car after he picked up his son, They handcuffed him, waited for his wife to arrive, and drove him away. 2 days later, he was in an El Salvador mega prison. The official explanation in administrative error. So on this one, the regime is admitting, yeah, we fucked that up. Wait for it, because eventually they flip on that. The top levels of the regime are like, no, we didn't. It's fine. Even though ICE knew Garcia had legal protection, they deported him anyway. He wasn't even on the original flight manifest. He was added as an alternate. Now Trump's lawyers argue courts can't bring him back and shouldn't bother trying. Why? Because Trump's primacy in foreign affairs outweighs Garcia's rights and his family's suffering. J.D. Vance smeared him as a convicted gang member. More on that in a second. That's a lie. Even the arresting officers in 2019 didn't believe it. He was never charged. And when courts tried to intervene, Bukele mocked them with a tweet. Oopsie, too late. If Trump can disappear Abrego Garcia, he can disappear you. If Trump can strip his rights with no accountability, he can do it to anyone. This is why due process matters. This is the El Salvador slave labor camp that we're talking about here. Okay, more. So, John Favreau comes out, sees this story, that in administrative error sent an innocent father to a slave labor camp. This is one of the top save guys here.
The biggest.
He says, any comment on this,
in
the
America.
You just admitted to accidentally sending an innocent father from Maryland to a torture dungeon in El Salvador, and you refused to do anything about it. So in court they said this is administrative error, but they also said there's nothing we can do about it. It would literally take one phone call from one top administration official, and they would have that guy on a plane within 20 minutes. Okay, from Maryland,
but they don't want to do it because they are.
So in court they said this is administrative error, but they also said there's nothing we can do about it. It would literally take one phone call from one top administration official, and they would have that guy on a plane within 20 minutes. Okay, ready? J.D. Vance comes in and says, my comment is that according to the court document you apparently didn't read, he was a convicted MS-13 gang member with no legal right to
rubbish, garbage.
My further comment is that it's gross to get fired up about gang members getting deported while ignoring citizens they victimize. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most disgusting lies I've ever seen in politics. This is right up there with the lie that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. They were targeting the United States.
Anybody who
he said he was a convicted
excuses this is bugging, bro.
While ignoring citizens they victimize. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most disgusting lies I've ever seen in politics. This is right up there with the lie that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. They were targeting the United States. Brazenly lying. He said he was a convicted MS-13 gang member. That is a flat-out lie. Here,
untruth.
Dive more into it. This is literally
mendacious.
J.D. Vance didn't read the court documents, as he's smugly accusing Favreau of not reading them. Here's what they actually say. Abrego Garcia is not a convicted gang member. He's never been charged or convicted of any crime. Police accused him of being MS-13 after stopping him and 3 other men for allegedly loitering outside a Home Depot where he says he'd gone to apply for a job. It was his first and only time in state custody. Law enforcement separated the men and interrogated them about gang membership. They told Abrego Garcia he could leave if he gave them information, which he said he didn't have. One of the other men pointed the finger to Abrego Garcia and accused him of being affiliated with part of the gang that operates in New York, where he's never lived. That, along with the fact he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie, is the evidence law enforcement said showed he was in a gang.
Stupid, bro.
Went to find the police report for the Home Depot incident, Abrego Garcia wasn't even named on it. And what about the subsequent gang evaluation? The investigator who authored it was suspended. In late 2019, Abrego Garcia won his case and was granted he was in a gang. When his lawyer went to find the police report for the Home Depot incident, Abrego Garcia wasn't even named on it. And what about the subsequent gang evaluation? The investigator who authored it was suspended. In late 2019, Abrego Garcia won his case and was granted protected status and was released from custody. He has had no arrest since. Those are the facts. So a judge looked at the facts of the case, laughed at it, and said, I am protecting this. I'm giving this man special protection from deportation.
TPS.
Vance complains a lot about dishonesty and fake news.
Is it TPS? TPS, right?
Was released from custody. He has had no arrest since. Those are the facts. So a judge looked at the facts of the case, laughed at it, and said, I am protecting this. I'm giving this man special protection from deportation. Vance complains a lot about dishonesty and fake news, and here he is spreading an outright lie. about someone the administration he's serving is just mistakenly sent to a third world prison without due process. A staggering level of incompetence.
Yeah.
He should be deeply embarrassed.
Agreed.
The thing is,
Agreed.
like I said, they don't care. They don't care. If
Sad.
it's not a mistake, they don't care. But Abrego Garcia was denied bond. That's because the law requires that judges view ICE allegations as inherently trustworthy when the agency submits someone for deportation. Worse, ICE erroneously noted on its form that Abrego Garcia had been arrested as part of a murder investigation instead of a loitering investigation. Being denied bond does not make you guilty under the law. Conservatives used to define themselves by their skepticism toward government because it often gets things wrong. Now, a lot of these same people demand we trust the government
Hypocrisy,
even after it just sent the wrong guy to a third world mega prison.
Hypocrisy, bruh.
Because it often gets things wrong. Now, a lot of these same people demand
Certain
we trust the government
conservatives,
even after
not
it just sent the wrong
all,
guy
not
to a third world
all,
mega prison.
but
Give me a break.
certain ones. Yes.
The fact of the matter is, investigation instead of a loitering investigation, being denied bond does not make you guilty under the law. Conservatives used to define themselves by their skepticism toward government because it often gets things wrong. Now, a lot of these same people demand we trust the government implicitly, even after it just sent the wrong guy to a third world mega prison. Give me a break.
Horrible, bro.
The fact of the matter is, they have no
Hateable.
principled stance in favor of small government.
No
When they
morals.
say they want small government, what they mean by
No
that is,
scruples.
hey, stop giving black people welfare. Cut Social Security so grandma becomes homeless.
Certain people
That's the small government they want.
say this.
The big government they want
Certain MAGA
is a
people.
government large enough to invade Greenland and steal
But don't lump all MAGA people in the same box. Kalinske, he does that a lot. He lumps all MAGA people in the same box. But it is ignorant and crazy to do this, bro. Because you don't know all MAGA people, so yeah. It doesn't make sense to lump all MAGA people under the same umbrella because you have no knowledge of all MAGA people to say they believe this, they believe that.
They have a principled stance
But-
in favor of small government. When they say they want small government, what they mean by that is
Certain
hey, stop
people,
giving
yes,
black people
yes,
welfare.
certain
Cut
people
Social
in
Security
MAGA
so grandma becomes homeless.
have this belief.
That's the small government they want. The big government they want is a government large enough to invade Greenland and steal Canada and cut Social Security so grandma becomes homeless. They have a principled stance in favor of small government. When they say they want small government, what they mean by that is, hey, stop giving black people welfare. Cut Social Security so grandma becomes homeless. That's the small government they want. The big government they want is a government large enough to invade Greenland and steal Canada and steal
The people
Panama,
with that
and bomb
belief,
Yemen and bomb
they do
Somalia,
embody
and war with Mexico and war with Iran.
hypocrisy,
And
yes.
they want a government big enough
But
steal
it
Panama,
isn't
and bomb
every
Yemen and bomb
MAGA
Somalia, and
person.
war with Mexico and war with Iran. And they want a
Trust
government big enough
me, yo.
to act like an emperor and like steal Panama and bomb Yemen and bomb Somalia.
Crazy.
Small government they want. The big government they want
Crappy,
is a
scummy,
government large enough to
evil.
invade Greenland and steal Canada and steal
On
Panama,
Gaza
and
too.
bomb Yemen
Displace
and bomb Somalia,
Gazans
and
to
war with
different
Mexico and war with
Middle
Iran. And they want a
Eastern
government big
countries.
enough to
Illegally
steal Panama, bomb
settle
Yemen
and
and bomb Somalia,
craziness,
and do
bro.
war with Mexico and war with Iran.
yeah.
The big government they want is a government large enough to invade Greenland and steal Canada and steal
The
Panama,
hypocrites.
and bomb Yemen
Yes,
and bomb Somalia,
yes.
and do war with
We
Mexico
see.
and war with Iran. And they want a government big enough to steal Panama and bomb Yemen and bomb Somalia, and do
The
war with Mexico
Houthis.
and war with Iran. And they want a government big enough to act like an emperor and like a king, like a dictatorship, where nobody has
Despots.
rights, nobody has due process.
Autocrats.
Small government they want. The big government they want is a government large enough to invade Greenland and steal Canada and steal Panama and bomb Yemen and bomb Somalia and do war with Mexico and war with Iran. And they want a government big enough to act like an emperor and like a king, like a dictatorship, where nobody has rights, nobody has due process, and the unitary executive can ruin people's lives on a whim. So in some senses they want giant government, in other senses they want next to no
Certain
government.
ones.
But there is nothing principled here. The only
Nope.
this is only
With,
principle.
with the
if you're a
truly
fascist. You say, I don't care if the
hypocritical
Republicans want to have
MAGA
brown skin, they want tattoos, they
people, yes.
next
The
to no
truly
government. But there is
hypocritical
nothing
MAGA
principled here.
people. The
This is only
truly
principled if you're a fascist.
hypocritical
We say, I don't care
and
who the fuck we deport, so they have
truly contradictory MAGA people. Yes, this is the case. This is the case. This is the case pertaining to the truly hypocritical and the truly contradictory MAGA people. Words.
Nobody has rights, nobody has due process, and the unitary executive can ruin people's lives on a whim. So in some senses, they want giant government. In other senses, they want next to no government. But there is nothing principled here. This is only principled if you're a fascist. We say, I don't care who the fuck we deport. Do they have brown skin? Do they
remorseless,
have
merciless.
And that is where J.D. Vance is, and that is where Donald Trump is. So by the way, ready for this? After we learned the Trump regime in court said, yeah, this one was an administrative error. This isn't the right guy. He was a late ad. We know that there's really no evidence. The Trump regime admitted this in court. But that's okay, because the top officials in the Trump regime, like this disgusting bitch, is going to come out here and listen to what she says.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration.
Yeah, bro. Terrible, bro. Yeah, if this stuff continues, bro, the country will be worse, bro. If this BS continues to occur, bro, this country will be worse, bro. This country will be seen as a country that is not free. This country is supposed to be a free country, but in what way can it be seen as a free country when people you disagree with get sent to different places with illegally detained and disappeared to different states with no proof, no evidence of wrongdoing or evidence of Hamas support or Hamas endorsement, bro. In what way can this country be seen as free when in what way can this country be seen as free when certain college students get sent to different states and detained with no proof of wrongdoing or no proof of terrorist group endorsement, bro? It can't be seen as free if this nonsense is taking place, yo. Peace.